Hi gents.
Hi David. There's not many of us, just because a couple of them are stuck in traffic, so we might ask a few more questions than usual, if that's okay, just to...
That's a brilliant excuse.
He needs no encouragement usually, David.
No, but normally I would ask about 5 or 6...
So they didn't do their preparation right, getting here in time and whatnot?
Poor, isn't it, really?
The bench here, so I have to ask one question and say all my others.
Very poor. Always arrive early, that's my advice.
Okay everyone? Yeah. David, can we start with your new signings please? How happy are you with them?
I'm delighted that we brought in a couple of new young boys, but I've also got to, put it in perspective. They are both young players who we want to develop. Not too much expectations should be put on them. Certainly for Donald Love and for Paddy, but I believe they're the sort of type of players I've bought in the past. They're not unsimilar to John Stones, who you'll probably ask me about later on, and who's going on to be a top player. So hopefully these two boys can develop like that. Papi from Chelsea is more experienced. It was something I wanted. I wanted a left-footed centre back, and he gives me that natural balance on the left side, and also, more importantly, competition for Coney and Kabul. So we're happy to have them in, and I'm happy to announce today that Adnan Januzaj is also signed, and we'll be joining up with the team in Manchester later on today.
Is that on loan?
It's on loan for the season, yeah.
You must be delighted with that one. He'll add something a bit different to you, won't you?
Well, I want to bring some quality to the squad as well. I mean, we need to look to add numbers because we're short. The club, if you can look, lost 5 or 6 players in the summer, either been out of contract or choosing to let people go. So before we even talk about it, we need to add those numbers back just to get us a squad. But Adnan will give us a different variation. He can play 2 or 3 different roles. But I've got to get Adnan back to the level he played 2 years ago. And Adnan needs to realise now that it's not everybody else's fault. It now needs to be that he comes and does the business. He'll get plenty of opportunities with us. I believe in him. I actually thought that he was one of the finest young talents I'd seen, and that included, he would have been up there with Wayne Rooney as a sort of 17, 18-year-old. So I'm looking forward to getting him here. I'm hoping that the Sunderland supporters see the real Adnan Januzaj, and we'll give him every opportunity to show that in the coming year.
I think it was yourself that gave him his first start, wasn't it, at the Stadium of Light? Of course, he produced those 2 goals that day.
Well, I hope that he's going to show that this time in a Sunderland jersey and score the goals for us, because we'll need him to create goals and score goals. But as I said, we're just starting to get some younger players in. We're trying to rebuild and add on to all the good work Sam done. But undoubtedly we were short of players, and we will need to bring some players in on loan as well as purchase them.
Of the 4, McNair, Love, Januzaj and Djilabodji, how many of those are going to be in the squad for tomorrow?
They'll all be in the squad for tomorrow, because we need it. We've quite a few injuries. Seb Larsson's had an operation which will keep him out about 6 months, we believe 5 to 6 months. Lee Catamol's getting an injury, Kirchhoff's getting an injury, Billy Jones is injured. So we have a real sort of, it was a tight number before. So those boys will all be included tomorrow mainly because of some of the injuries we've picked up.
I guess then for you the last week or two it's been a bit of a rush trying to get these lads in, because you would have been struggling perhaps to even feel an 11 of experienced player.
We would, it really would. We're and that's why the young players, and I'm very happy to put the young players out. Some of them will be on the bench tomorrow, and some of them will have to play as well, because that's where we're at the moment. But I'm happy to do that. What I've seen from the young players has been very good, so I'm going to try and encourage them to keep it up, and when the right opportunities come, I hope they're ready to take their chance.
Have you made a decision on Stephen Pienaar yet?
Stephen's still training and he's happy to train. I've got to say he's looked very good, but I want to get him in a decent condition where he feels ready to, for example, take part in a practice match or maybe an under-21 game. We're not quite there yet with Stephen, but he's been training, and he's been training well.
Lamine Coney, you mentioned earlier, he released a statement to the media last night saying that he was looking to leave the club, essentially handing in a transfer request. What are your thoughts on the matter?
Well, I think it's important that you hear that what we know. We did meet Lamine and his agents and his representatives last night. We've told Lamine that there's a contract for him on September the 1st. We want to get the transfer window out of the way because myself and Martin Bain are only in the club 2 weeks. We are aware of there have been something said to him about a contract, a new contract if they stayed up. We are aware of that. We'll definitely honour that. But we just feel that we can't do it just quite at this minute because we're in the middle of the transfer window. We're trying to do other things. And also, he signed 6 months ago and he has a 4-year contract. It isn't at the top of the agenda. But I'll say it again and make it clear. We've told him that he will be offered the contract and renewed in September. And we also told him that we have received a bid from Everton. So we told him that as well. So we've been straight up front. And I mean, it surprised me to hear that the boy was in Liverpool during the week. I found that amazing.
Did Sunderland knock back the bid from Everton?
We've had an offer. I've spoke with Bill Kenwright several times, and me and Bill got on very well, and that has remained private between me and Bill. Nobody else really knows anything about those conversations.
What he said in his statement is that he feels he's not part of your plans. Is he, or could he be now moving forward? He's
very much part of my plans. At no time have I ever said that he wasn't. And as I said, he's got a 4-year contract. He came 6 months ago and he's done very well for the team. Something has been said to him, which we are happy to agree with. And we've said that we will renew his contract the 1st of September. We just want to get the transfer window out of the way, try and improve the squad if we can, and then we'll do business with him.
Given the fact you've said that he will get that new contract at the start of September, are you disappointed about the ways him and his agents have gone about things?
Well, I'm disappointed that he would come out and do that because it's given me a decision just now by his statement to say whether I should play him or not. It makes that decision difficult, so I'm going to have to see how he is today. We've not trained yet, we'll train this afternoon. I need to see exactly where his mind is. But as far as I'm concerned, he's been a big part of the team, the supporters here like him. So we need him, as just as I said, we're quite short of numbers, so we need him.
Last one on transfers or players coming in and out, if you don't mind. Yann M'Vila, he's made it clear that he wants to come back to Sunderland through social media and whatnot. Can you bring us up to speed where the club are with that one?
Well, we are on with some things there, so as much as I can tell you is we are on with that.
And I think you touched on the injury. You said Larsson, did you say 5 to 6 months?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that just a new injury then? Yeah.
It's an injury he had last season. He went to the Euros and came through, but it's been, I think you need to just be, I think it's a frayed ligament he had. I might be stand corrected on that.
Okay. Moving on to football.
That was just the news for you, was it?
I mean, what an opener for you, Manchester City. How much are you looking forward to taking your team there to face up to Pep Guardiola?
I'm looking forward to being back in the Premier League. I'm really looking forward to the challenge. It's a big challenge what I've got here with Sunderland. But I'm beginning to feel that we're going in the right direction. It's not going to be ready immediately. It would be impossible. I'm only in the job 2 weeks, and actually it's great that I'm getting a chance to start right at the beginning, but also I've missed the first 3 weeks of pre-season, 4 weeks, so that doesn't help. But nevertheless, I feel as if we're getting in shape, we're doing the best we can at this present time. It'd be a tough job going to Man City, whether it was the first game of the season or the last game of the season. And I've got to say I'm looking forward to playing against Pep. We met each other in the quarter-final of the Champions League a couple of years ago, and I thought the game was very tight, so I'm looking forward to seeing him again. And also my old player Mikel Arteta, who's now on his staff.
You mentioned John Stones earlier. It's amazing how much the transfer window has changed. Prices have risen dramatically. £50 million for him, 90 odd for Pogba. It's difficult to compete, isn't it?
Oh, it's difficult to compete, and but you've got to remember, money doesn't always buy you success. I think you'd have to look at the teams in similar situations last year who spent all their money. They didn't win the Premier League. So don't think for a minute that the money is necessarily going to make the difference. Sometimes it doesn't. I wish I had it though to spend it, I've got to say. Certainly at that level. But I think the players you're talking about, Pogba and John Stones, are both excellent players.
last one from me. Leicester finished 17th 2 seasons ago. Sunderland did it last season. Is that a good omen?
Well, I think it's the pressure every team's now got. Leicester City's now changed it for many other teams that this can be done. I think it's great for football, because I think you'd love to believe that football wasn't necessarily just to do with money, and to do with who spends the most money becomes the winners. Because if it was, then it's not right. We want football to be a game where it's unpredictable, and it was as unpredictable last season as we could ever have thought. And again, it was congratulations to Leicester for what they've done, but you start over again, and that's all gone. So I'm hoping that we can have a positive season, not be bobbing around the bottom, and that's my aim at this present time.
You've got 3 Man United players in now in the window. Is there a thought in your mind about what being a Manchester United player brings you? Because I'm thinking back here historically over the last 10 years in the Premier League, starting with Phil Bardsley and John O'Shea, Wes Brown, they've all been very, very good examples of solid professionals. I've done a very, very good job here. Is there a thinking that there's a characteristic in?
Yeah, I do, and that was my thinking behind it. My thinking behind it is, I think nearly all the Manchester United boys who've either come here permanently or on a loan, I think have all been successful. I even think Danny Welbeck might have came in, was Player of the Year one year. So you have to say Johnny Evans has been here. I think they've all been successful. So my mind was to say, I'd like to get some more British players as well. I'd like to add some young players. I'd like to give myself a new, young, fresh team at Sunderland for the supporters, and not just for 1 year. But I also have to find the balance between that and getting senior players, Premier League players, who can make sure that we aren't in trouble. I've got no doubt that the young players will develop and go on to be very good players, but that takes a little bit of time. But you're exactly correct with what you say. Is I think the boys who've come from Manchester United in the past have been success here, so I have followed that path.
It is part of it, because those players understand what the football club's about, and that's important, understanding what this football club is and what it means.
Yeah. Well, I just know if you play for Manchester United, I know what the players need to know. They need to be able to play in front of big crowds. They know how to handle the situations. It's the same at Sunderland. You have to play in front of a big crowd. You need to handle the situation. And again, I'm trying to build something fresh, something new. Can we get it tomorrow? Can we get it next week? Maybe not. But can I get it maybe in the long term? That's my aim, to try and do that. And I do think that hopefully the younger ones, once we get them the way we want them, will make a big difference.
I know you say you'd love another 4 weeks really before the season starts, but in other ways, is it not good to get this first game played so everybody can suddenly move away from all the hyperbole of the last week and all the knee-jerk reactions, and let's just get on with the football?
Well, I think it's been difficult for Sunderland during the close season. They had a brilliant end to the season, staying up when a lot of people didn't expect them to stay up. That sort of feeling has kept going through the summer. We need to try and keep that momentum going into the new part of the season. But obviously losing Big Sam, put a dent in it for 3-4 weeks at the time it was, and probably kept everybody a little bit in limbo. So yeah, look, I'm looking forward to getting started. But truthfully, I think I would say to you, to get some in, to move things around a little bit. Ideally, I could do with a little bit more time.
Finally, for me, a lot of people have sort of, Keith's just mentioned Leicester last season, but a case in point with Sunderland, they went 11-12 games at the end of the last season unbeaten. You've gone through pre-season unbeaten, and where you may be weak in terms of having the squad that you want, what you have got is a very, very good, strong team spirit, which was something that Leicester proved that was a big mark for them last season. Yeah,
I do think that they had a great spirit here in the way they worked towards the end of last season. I'm hoping to build on that and strengthen it, and we will need it at times, because maybe we don't have the same quality as the players we've talked about earlier on at some of the clubs, or the financial ability to sign that level of player. So what I'm going to need is people with a big heart, big effort, big commitment, and a real desire to sort of take us on, because that's what I've got. I want to try and make sure that we're not near the bottom end, and it's easier said than done.
David, you faced Pep Guardiola twice before in the Champions League, so you're looking forward to coming up against him again tomorrow?
Yeah, we met in the quarter-final of the Champions League, and he had an exceptional Bayern Munich team, and we played very well in the first game at Old Trafford, and actually went up in the second game, and Pat Evra scored a great goal to put us in front. So I know what to expect. I know how good a coach he is. He's certainly one of the best in the world with what he does. He's keen on, I'm going to use the word, trying things and looking to see what can be done. So yeah, I look forward to coming up against him. But at the end of the day, we'll be going there to try and get a result out of the game. Probably we won't be expected. Sometimes that's a good position to be in.
It's so early in the season, you might not have a settled side yet. So in that sense, does it present an opportunity for you?
Well, it's a difficult situation because you're right, we don't have a settled side yet. We've not really had a chance to bed it in. We've been talking about the 3 or 4 new players we've brought in. Some of them we've had one training session with us, but because of injuries, the need might be that we have to use some of these players much sooner than we'd really want to do so. I'd like ideally to have brought them in slowly, at the right time. But because of the injuries that we've got at the moment at the club, and some of them quite serious, that Seb Larsson's had an operation, means that it's not something we can sort of say he'll be back in a week's time. It's not the case. Okay, cheers, thank you. Tap.
I'll do it all again if I
I was going to say, you're multitasking today, Nick.
try and do something a different way.
Cheers, David.
Cheers, thanks. See you later.